filmmakers in France and in the world. 46 years. And for all those reasons, we recognize her indeed as a true maverick, but she's also and essentially a great, great lady. Please welcome Madame Agnès Varda.
I never see myself as a lady. I sort of can't figure my person with a lady or anything like this, but thank you for your words, Philippe. And here we go. I don't exactly know what I'm expected to do here, because as he pointed that I have been working for 46 years, you can imagine that if I try to make a kind of story of my filmmaker life, we couldn't be here tomorrow morning for breakfast, you know, going on like this. Every time we make a film, it's a lot of stories, a lot of things around, and it's difficult to make it fast, to make it short. Not that it is a long story. I know many directors who have done much more film. I've done very little film for that, very few films for that period of time. For many reasons. First reason is that I couldn't find the financing. And even though I've made some films, making money sometimes, even though I got a lot of prizes, you know, bears and lions and crows and things, you get animals, you know, you get... I remember getting a dog in the Canary Island, unless it is a canary in the dog island, and then you get little things like little animals. But even though they don't want to give me money, including the last film, the one which is here, the Gleaners and I, les glaneurs et la glaneuse. Somebody has seen it, the film Les Glaneurs? So this film, you know, that seems to please the people. It seems that the audience liked that film. Nobody wanted to give me the money. Nobody. No, we didn't even try a producer. But because in France, like everywhere, we know that at the end, it's television who pays, which pays, because they, in a way, they give money to films to be made in order to have them on the channel. So I went around all the French channels, including the cultural one, Le 7, Arte, 2 and 3. I didn't try 1 because I just make just too much far from me. And I couldn't find it. And finally, after 6 months, going 3 times, asking, I got a little money, little money from Canal Plus, which is a channel. So this film has been made on spec, believe it or not, that we didn't have the money to produce it. And when it was finished, I was doing my way. My way is from September 99 to April. I was doing shooting, editing, thinking about the narration, writing it in the editing room, and the narration, you know, cries for something more, then I go out again, and mostly finding the way to meet people being gleaners and being, I would say, very poor or half poor or poor. And to meet them sometimes it's difficult. It takes time to have connection, to approach them, to be able to speak with them normally. And so I do editing and writing and editing and shooting and in and out. And I think I would have done more, including another summer. I was missing like cherries and watermelon. I wanted to end with the wheat harvest, in which there is nothing left, because these machines, you know, now they take everything in the field. But somebody of the Cannes Film Festival came in the editing room and picked the film and decided it should go to Cannes as an official entry. So it decided me to end the film, to finish the editing, which was almost finished. And now I think it's fine, because it could have been endless. You know, I have a difficulty to get out of that film, because the subject, the people I have met, the meeting with the people in the audience, it's like going on all the time. My mind is just with that gleaning thing. And I'm glad the film has a shape, and sort of I will have to stop. And that's what I had in mind, is that we all glean, by making that film specifically on urban and country people, but also realize that we even use it in French. We say glaner des informations. I don't know if you say that, glean information, or glean, news or knowledge, or glean this and that. And we all do that. All the writers will tell you they glean other form, des anciens, the classiques. We just not copy, but we glean here and there some ideas, some inspiration. We glean what we hear here and there. In the coffee shops, in the train, I'm always listening to things, and sometimes I don't write it down, I'm not taking notes, but I know I glean things I see. 2 years ago, I've seen, 1 year ago, something I heard here and there. So we do it all the time. And today I thought, instead of telling how I started, what I did, I wanted to glean into my filmmaker life and pick some things like emotional stories of moments that come to my mind, and just wrote them down while I was having a little salad here. And I thought of something. When I was doing a short, I did a lot of shorts. One is called Du côté de la côte. C'est un hommage à Proust. So on the side of the coast, which is the Riviera. It was a, comment on dit une commande? Command, you say no? Well, it was asked. It's not orders, it's like a, commission, yeah, by the Minister of Tourism. They asked me to go to la Côte d'Azur, which that I didn't know really. I took the Guide Bleu, I read everything, and I saw there were mosques and Arabian palaces and things, and so I picked and decided it was exotic and here and there. And then I decided that they were always quoting Eden. Eden is paradise, You say that, Eden? So you have Eden Hotel, Eden Plage, comment dire, beach, Eden Cafe, and Eden Rock, which is a famous palace, and Eden this and that. And I decided, forget the Riviera, the real Eden is an island. So we took the crew on the island of Porquerolles, which is a beautiful island, very near Cannes, which is almost empty because it was a private island belonging to 3 sisters, and they gave us permission. And I had that beautiful shot in mind that sometimes pine trees, they have incredible long roots, and you see them a little above the sand and they go under the sand. So I had organized a very long traveling with, rail, on the rails? Tracks, sorry. And there was 2 people organizing the tracks, like 30 meters of track, so that we could follow very slowly these routes coming in and out, and discovering a landscape, a beach landscape with some pine trees. And I had asked the co-producer to lie down with his wife naked, but far away, naked like this, de chaque côté, on each side of a little pine tree. Because I thought, in French we call it the pomme de pin. I don't know if you call it pine. You say pineapple. Well, it's not pineapple, the pineapple, but So I thought la pomme, the paradise apple was that. So there was a little tree, they were there naked, the long shot would discover them, and at the end there was a beautiful sand beach making a nice curve. So we had organized for 4 hours the tracks, the rehearsal, the movement, and finally say, okay, undress, put yourself there, we do it. So they were nice enough, lying down like this. And suddenly we turn, and this is the paradise shot, right? The Eden, the real Eden. A couple, an apple, a landscape, the beach. The minute we finish the traveling, I can see on that beach, that wide beach, when suddenly 50 people there. And I run, I get mad, I say to the assistant, run, get rid of these people. How did they dare spoil my shot, So he runs, the young assistant, they have to run, that's the way. He runs and he comes back, he's white. I can't say the page because it's green. He's white like this. And say, you know what? This is the day, one day in the year, when they take unable, paralyzed, and handicapped children. There are 10 volunteers who come, pick them, put them in the boat, and bring them on the beach. This is their day. And I thought that was really, you know, you want to make a paradise shot. You want to decide this is out of the Riviera, the best wild island, and you get to have 50 handicapped children. And, you know, we had 4 hours work done there. So we say we all went there, and we started to explain to these kids what we were doing, and the little crew, we were 8, and we carried them, you know, further out of the shot, explaining them that we couldn't have them in the film because it was too far, we couldn't see them. We were so sorry we couldn't film them. They were so nice, and boom, we had to push them to make the shot. And I thought it's an allegory of, you know, don't try to film, to reconstitute, to whatever, make up a kind of paradise, because there are some handicapped kids to remind you that no way to do it so easily. This is a little story that came to my mind. Another story which came is related to Jacot de Nantes. I don't know if you have seen that film, Jacot. Somebody has seen it? Few people? Because, no, but it's simple. If you don't know, I have to tell what it is. It's a film, it's a fiction film that I made after the memories of Jacques Demy, who was a kid in the city of Nantes, raised in a garage where his father was working, the mother was serving gas, oil, or what is gasoline. And he played in the middle of that, you know, that was his world. The little flat they had was in the garage. So he wrote his memories about that, and he was very ill and in a very bad shape, but I think the only thing he liked at that time was to remember his youth, his childhood. And one day I told him, look, what if I make a film with your memories? He said, great ideas, because it's a good idea. I was such a gifted child, which was true. I had a vocation. I wanted so much to make movies as a child. I said, let's do that. So I found a little money, and we raised, and we started the production. So I had to find a mother looking like his mother, a father looking like his father, kids, 3 kids to play 9 years old to 13, to 12, 12 to 15, 15 to 18, because you cannot have the same, and finding 3 little Jacots. And what happened is extraordinary, is that I succeeded to get the real garage where he was raised, in Nantes, which was still a garage, but very modern, you know, with electric things. And that was a very difficult negotiation because they knew we wanted it so much, and so the price was going up every week. But we finally got the garage, got rid for 1 month or 2 of these electric things, and we had to redo it like it was. And the gas pump was still on the wall. That was the one that her mother was using in 39, 40, was still there with the, you know, the thing going like this. And the wall in front of the little flat was still there, totally rotten. So there was a moment I said, well, we have to redo what, at the time, you know, to fix a car, there was a hole with 3 little steps to go down like this. They would put the car and somebody would go under. You understand what I'm telling? Ça s'appelait la fosse. You know, like a hole to repair the cars. And I said, where was the hole, that thing? I asked Jacques, he doesn't remember. I have his mother come to the garage and the young brother. I said, can't you remember? They said, no, maybe here. No, they said, well, that was a reserve of gas. I said, please help me. They don't know. Okay, I said, well, then I'll do it my way. I think about a place where it could be nice to have a shot like this, a shot like this, the best place. So I decide a cinematic place for that. We ask a mason to come and he make an estimate. And he said, well, it's a very rocky place and costs, obviously, when you ask something, you know. So it costs $500 to just open and break the stone which are there. I said, well, whatever, we need it. So we signed the estimate. And he comes with his work and do brrr, and right away they stop. This is where the hole was. This is where it was. I found that so beautiful that by choosing a cinematic place for no other reason than that, I found the place where they didn't remember it was. So I was sure at that time that I had a kind of intuition, something like special about remembering his memories and traveling in his memories that sometimes he didn't remember himself. That's one so strange cinematic experience, you know. At some point, one day, we were shooting there, and here comes Jacques visiting, and he's sitting in my armchair, the famous director armchair, you know, with my name. And here comes his mother and the brother, and here they are looking at the shooting where there is a little Jacques, and a mother looking like the mother, and a father looking like the father. And I'm directing a long shot, which is the beginning of the film, a beautiful shot, it goes up and down. There is a, you know, difficult shot with a crane, and take 2 hours to organize, and have the kids say something. And I came to Jacques and I said, isn't it odd for you to be in the place where you were as a kid and see a child acting like you did, and your mother and your father, can you imagine the experience? I said, how do you feel? Am I wrong? Because I made up the dialogue, I made up the situation in that, you know, he had said something, but it had not organized. And he said beautiful things, which made me feel so good. He said, I'm here, I'm there. So he felt that he was visiting his youth, his childhood. This is, you know, strange things happening in filmmaking, which is out of technique, out of knowledge, out of just, you know, be good, make the right plays, the camera. Okay, you try all this, but there is something magic into the fact that by filming you can approach mysterious things, which I felt very often and liked very much. Another memory. This is technique. I have made a film called Le Bonheur, Happiness. Somebody have seen it? 2, 3? Good. 4, 5. Beautiful. And it's selected for Berlin Film Festival. And it was a film, and it is a film, in which colors were very important. It was my first color film. And I've put a lot of attention to impressionist colors and palette, and took very good care of the colors. I was quite proud of it, you know, at the time. So I asked the lab to send the best print for the festival. I arrive in Berlin the day before, and we do what is supposed to be a technical test. We do, you know, we ask the projectionist to send the film and see if the sound, the color, and the copy, the print is pale, like nothing, pastel. I get totally crazy. So what happened? We called the laboratoire, and they said, what happened? And they found out that they had asked a copy print for exportation. It tells you a lot. So they have these bad prints, you know, that they keep to send for Africa or India. When you order a print, they have this rotten print that they send for foreign. So when I called and was mad and said, how do you dare? They printed a beautiful print in the afternoon. Somebody took a plane and brought it to Berlin so we could have a good screening. So this is just to say that you have to fight for technique. You work hours of timing the colors, working on having a good print. Then you end up that you have a lab who doesn't care and send a bad print. Another thing also, the stock of the 60s faded. So that Le Bonheur that we're speaking about, we had prints like beige and vaguely pink. Same thing from Umbrellas of Cherbourg. No print, it was just gone. So I spent months in restoring, it's too complicated to explain, but we were able with 3 black and white separate color to refabricate the negative, absolutely the same as the one of the time, with new stock. So I restored the Umbrellas of Cherbourg, the Young Girls of Rochefort, Le Bonheur, etc. So, which means that in the middle of your emotion, your ideas, you look for beauty, whatever beauty it is. You have to fight technique, you have to fight the lab, you sometimes have to fight even director of photography, but sometimes they go their way, etc. So this is a memory of color, speaking about colors. Something else. Remembering our friendship of the time of the new wave. We were very friendly with Jean-Luc Godard and Anna Karina. You know, the beautiful films I've made together. I guess you have seen many of them. And suddenly they decided to get married. So we are the witnesses. We want to be there. And my daughter was 4 years old, and the wedding was like 2 days after. And she said, I want to have a beautiful dress. And so I had a piece of fabric left over of a film, a fabric for armchair, you know, something like it. In soie, d'ameublement. So I made myself a little dress like this, beautiful. I made it rough, you know, not finished, but looking good. So we went to that wedding of Jean-Luc Godard, and I took picture of my girl, you know, touching the white dress of Anna. And I have that memory that we went to a little Italian restaurant, we were 6 or 7, and we drank champagne, and Rosalie was drinking the rest of every cup. Like, behind us, we didn't see her. She was having like a drop here, a drop there. And finally, everybody was in good shape, and my daughter was drunk. I mean, so, you know, things of cinema that comes out of my mind. And then, I think it's that summer, went for holiday. Godard was richer then. He rented a beautiful house at Nice, overlooking the ocean and with a little pool, and we went there. And they had chosen a very small room, totally ugly, and they gave us the beautiful room. I said, well, you rented the house, you should have that. No, we don't want to have a beautiful view. Fine. So we took the good room, we loved the view, and then we would go down at the breakfast. And we were in very good mood and very easily happy, I'd say, Jacques and me. And here comes Anna, and she said, en français, je sais pas quoi faire, qu'est-ce que je peux faire? I don't know what to do, what can I do? She was repeating that, and one day would say, okay, let's swing. The other day would say, why don't we paint? So we both painting. Another day would say, why don't we? But then, you know, she's done, is it in Pierrot le Fou? Yeah. And here she's on the beach, and she says, qu'est-ce que je vais faire? Je sais pas quoi faire. So it's funny because these unforgettable lines for people who love cinema, suddenly you remember that how they came out of, you know, just, she was bored one morning, you know. So, also, I have another memory about Cleo from 5 to 7. You may have seen that film. It's a girl, you know, afraid of having a cancer. She's ill, and she waits for results of medical tests. Checking out. So she waits, she goes around, she's in pain. She discovers, because of her fear, something different. She sees things differently. She meets a girlfriend. Then she meets a soldier. She have a good relationship. Something comes out of it. And together they walk, they take a bus, and they go to the hospital in which she's supposed to meet a doctor. I had chosen that hospital because it's one of the most beautiful ones, called La Riboisière. It has alley and trees and old architecture, very nice. And they sit there on the bench, waiting for the doctor to come. And I remember I had the idea that should be something like time being small and big and always related with time, and especially in Cleo. So they're there, I took close-ups of them together, and then very wide shots, like time and space, space and time, cutting like this, very close-up and very big length, I don't know how to say, grand long plan, wide shot. And then comes the doctor, and this is the end of the film. He says she needs raise, and he says he's the brother, and she says, I think I'm not afraid, I think I feel good. The film comes out, and was good reception, and I received a lot of letters. And I have received a letter, I'm shocked. There was a very good French critic called Georges Sadoul, and he had written books about cinema, and was a very good man. And he said, I have to write it because I would not even be able to tell you. Years ago, my wife was sick, and we were afraid that she got a cancer. And one day she had to wait for some result. And we went together to La Riboisière. And we sat on that bench, and we waited for the doctors to look. Even speaking about it, my heart is beating. Can you believe the man, the emotion, the strong emotion? He had the feeling that had like picked in his brain, in his memory. The wife was dead years ago. He was remarried. I mean, I could not even know he had a former wife. This is a story, you know. Suddenly, again, cinema deals with strange things. It's not only make a film, get an audience. It's, I think, something going around which is more than cinema. And even though I spoke about technique, with choosing close-up and wide shots, you know, the waiting of that couple on the bench is like having memories of other people's pain, maybe, or other people's anxiety. And I like very much the idea that we are connected with people we don't know. We are connected with emotion we never had. People ask me always, is it autobiographic? Did you ever were you sick? Did you were afraid to have a cancer? I never was afraid of having cancer, and I'm not big and I'm blonde. I'm not a beautiful woman. So we can imagine things we haven't been through. But it always deals with other people's fear, emotion, pleasure, you know, like joys that we maybe never met and they know. Okay, I take another one. I wanted to do Saint-Ouen-Loire. It's called here Vagabond. And I started to write a script in which there was a man on the road, a young man on the road, because I was discovering that bums on the road were younger and younger. Years ago it was 50 years old people, you know, broken people, 40 years old people. But it became that younger and younger, young men, and then came young women. So I thought I'd make a film about a young man on the road, and later he will meet a young woman on the road, both rebellious, etc. And while I was location scouting, is that a word? Going around looking for places, asking these people, asking information, I always document a lot even if it's a fiction feature. I go around, I ask. I love to go, you know, in the field, ask people. You go to a farm and they send the dogs, or they send comment on dit le jar? Le mari de loi. Those animals, the husband of the goose. They bite your legs, you know. I mean, I run like it. I know they bite a lot. So a woman was alone. She sent me that animal, you know. They are afraid of people alone on the country. So I had to experiment all that to make the film. And then I pick a girl on the road, hitchhiking. That girl stinks like, poof, like, you know, enormous. And she made me understand that the wall between people was not so much to be rich or poor or having a house and having nothing, but it was the smell. That we're not able to stand somebody who smells very bad. And then the smell, even though this is not cinematic, you know, we don't see smell on a film, but it became my kind of line of research, as if dirty people, smelling people are unable to communicate because people cannot stand bad smell. It makes a wall between them and the world. And it was interesting. And that girl taught me a lot. And we took her around. We took her in the house where the crew was living. She was a little crazy, but I learned a lot from her. And when I asked Sandrine Bonner to do the part, can you believe she was 17 years and a half? And her father had to come to visit me with her. A very nice, decent worker who had to ask a half a day off to visit me with the daughter and sign the contract. And I said she had done 3 filming, which she was a little naked, a lot naked. And I said, well, for a change, she will be not only dressed, but she will look for being, you know, to have more jacket or more, or a sleeping bag or anything to cover her. And the father said, well, it's good for her then. And he signed a deal. Can you believe we've made her birthday on the shooting, 18 years old? And how strong she is in the film, how mature, how incredibly strong she is. Incredibly young woman, you know. And I remember that. And to start with, I say, go with that Cetina that I had picked in the street and spent 2 days in the woods with her, to see how she behaves, how she does the fire. She organized her tent, and what came out of it. It's very interesting because you want us to say it's cold, or, the food was cold, and something came and say, you know what came out of it? I got bored to death. Because we forget that these people, they do nothing, they have nothing, and I had to capture that and make a walk and then be there, just be there, doing nothing, not reading, not sharing, not speaking, being alone, a kind of nothing. So you learn from people, you learn from things that I have imagination, but sometimes I don't imagine things. And I remember loving so much the film of Bresson, Lancelot, I guess, because that middle-age battles with des armures, je sais pas comment on dit, armors. I never realized until his films, they were doing noise like in a kitchen. You have three, the casseroles, comment on dit les casseroles? Hein? Pan, like pots, like hurting pots. The noise, that metallic noise that he put in the battles was such a good imagination, because now, after having seen that film, I can imagine it was a hell of a noise of metal, and not these beautiful films we see, they do this and the cross and it was like a battle in the kitchen, I'd say. So it's so sometimes it's physical imagination that is missing, I think. Anyway, and also want to tell a little story about, I made a film about Jane Birkin called Jane B by Agnès V. And it's a portrait of Jane Birkin. Like, instead of saying, an actress is dead and you get some interviews and then you show pieces of films in which she acted, they all would do that. When I die, we have a piece of his interview and they would intercut with pieces of my film. They always do that. So I thought, I will make a film in which she makes interviews that we imagine fake, half fake, and then we would put pieces of film she will never do, imaginary films and pieces of that. So obviously she made a little piece of Joan of Arc that, as she said, she could never do because she has a British accent, or a little piece of Dickens or blah, blah, blah. And I wanted her to be with Serge Gainsbourg, who had written all her songs, and so we organized a little afternoon, and he says he'll come at 1 and we can do it at 2. And we go in the studio, she's ready, and she had a lot of affection for him. And he doesn't show up, and he doesn't show up. And I say to Jane, can't you ask him to come? We agree, he agreed on that. 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, waiting, I get mad. I say, well, he bad treats you. I say, well, that's the way it is, Sergio, okay, fine. And finally he shows up at 4 and he says, I need some pastis. I said, fine. We get a bottle of pastis, what is it? Thorn? And get some ice and we put a little pastis and bring the water. He said, forget the water. He started to drink, he drank the bottle of pastis with no ice, no water. He was drunk, dead drunk. And it finally made a scene like, speaking bad. Sometimes just so disappointed. I thought he would be happy to help her, to have a film in which to have a little of their relationship. I wanted to kill him. But, well, he made the scene. Finally it comes out. So, not too bad. And she was so sweet. She said, look, Sergio is shy, she said. Come on. And what else? Something nice also. When we showed Jaco de Nantes in Cannes, he was invited in the Festival de Cannes, official entry. So we have the red steps. But Jacques Demy had passed away in October. And the festival was in May. I had finished the editing. All this was quite painful, even though I was happy to finish the film that he liked. It was painful. So going up these stairs, was my children were with me. We had friends of Jacques. We were a bunch of people loving Jacques and going to that festival to show the film. And they had made, I don't know if it's Gilles Jacob or some publicity man, and they had a beautiful idea. You know, all these, on the steps in Cannes, at the end of the red carpet, they have these gendarmes nationaux. I don't know what it is, these people. It's not militaire. They have that helmet with feathers. Huh? No, it's not ushers. It's la garde républicaine. I don't know. They look beautiful. They have helmets with feather. They have a costume. They go there when there is opera, etc. And they had replaced these guys with sailors from the harbor, with the little chapeau, le petit pompon, and they played the Umbrellas of Cherbourg as a music. I mean, we cried because we had already to stand the emotion of going to the festival with the film and Jacques being away. But these sailors and the music of Umbrellas of Cherbourg was terrible, but in a way that showed a very nice attention, and there is a lot of affection into it. And I know people who like Jacques' films so much, and maybe they like my film less, but they like me because I loved him. You know, there is something into affection going like this in between two filmmakers, and some people are so grateful that I did Jaco de Nantes and L'Univers de Jacques Demy. So it's odd, you know, it's odd, because we had our filmmaker lives mixed in a way. So I went like this up and down because, you know, memory, I don't know exactly. My memory is bad. It goes through, what is the word, sieve? Like, you know, and a lot is gone. So what stays in the sieve comes in and out. And I wouldn't paraphrase Malraux, who says that la culture, c'est ce qui reste quand on a tout oublié. Culture is what is left when you've forgotten everything. It's not exactly that, but memory is capricious. Today I tell you this. Tomorrow I would tell other stories, or no stories, or maybe be more technical. So I know because the gentleman told me I had exactly to be 1 hour. So this is a way of saying, this is linking all my little speech to the Gleaners and I, in which I try to investigate something which impresses me so much, and it started with a real emotional vision. I was very moved by, after a big market like Barbès in Paris or other big markets, we have markets outside, you know, and the people come with their things and they do their little stand, and then when it's finished they fold it and they go, and before the people come with the broom, suddenly you see a dozen of people coming and picking things and making, you know, their errands with what is left. And I could see some old women, old men, bending with difficulty, being tired in a way, you know, getting one apple and then later one egg. And I felt very touched by that, and I thought, is somebody ever discussed that matter of people living out of our leftovers? And then I started to investigate. And if you have seen the film, you can still see it tonight, by the way, for those who have not seen it. But I started to investigate about the subject. And it's a very serious subject, because there is an incredible waste. I'm speaking about France, which is a rather rich country, incredible waste. And some people say to me, it's easy to eat in France with the rest, the leftovers, what he's thrown. And I never cheated in the film. They open garbages. You find things, apples and fruit and pieces of meat under, you know, in a paper. And a lot of people explained to me that we're so stupid to follow the date, like it says, finished October 15. It could at least 2 weeks more. Smell, taste, do something with yourself. So I was so impressed, and I got very passionate with the film and the subject. And I found all kind of gleaners, people, you know, who do it because they're very poor, they need the food, and people who save money by eating that, and others who do it by good sense because they think it's such a waste. And I limited to France, and I always had in mind, behind my head, that this is a rich country. If you think that we have on the planet enough growing and food and to feed the whole planet and even more. And it's so badly distributed that people starve and die of not eating every year by thousands, by millions. And here in France, just in France, they throw tons of potatoes, tons of apples, tons of food. And I felt aggressed by the idea. But what was in my mind is to find people who, instead of being complaining or humiliated about that, they decide to do it. They aggressively know and have an idea about society and about the waste and do it on purpose and are generous, which we are not always, and we are not enough in a way. So I was very interested in that. So since for the time left, would you like to raise a question? Would you like to ask something? Some of you.
Thank you very much. And yes, it's so nice to just listen to you. But yes, we have sometimes, if you don't mind, just for a few questions. Please raise your hand and take the grab the microphone
but it's so
and
small
ask
they
the
can't
question.
speak loud. If you
Yeah,
wish.
but maybe for the camera, they want to have the microphone.
Hi, Madame Varda. I was...
My name is Agnès.
Agnes. Pleased to meet you. I'm Ari. You mentioned your affection towards for directing and cinema, or broadly speaking. I was wondering if, and the affection that you had and that the festival had at Cannes for Monsieur Demy. I was wondering if today you feel that there is a lack of passion towards the cinema, and maybe between directors in our maybe money-driven society towards the cinema, or I know it was very similar back then in certain circumstances, but if you'd like to comment on the passion of filmmakers today and how cinema has changed for you today versus...
I'm not sure I understand your question.
I think
many directors today are passionate about their work. You mean...
I think my question is passionate towards other filmmakers and the respect they have towards their colleagues who are also making films, if that has changed since...
Wait. I mean, my relationship with Jacques was different. Maybe some people know that we lived together for 32 years, including tempest and difficulties. But 32 years is a specific attention, is a specific passion. I mean, so I don't ask all directors for male to marry the woman and see if they make films about each other. You know, this is a specific situation.
I'm not necessarily talking about your passion towards Monsieur Demy, but everybody else's towards Jacques, but towards everybody else's respect and passion towards him that you mentioned at the Cannes Festival when you premiered Jacques Denon's. And I was wondering...
I don't know. I know that some films create an affection for the director. And just to say, with the Gleaners and I, which came out in France in July, and it's still running in theater, 2 theaters in Paris and 60 theaters in the country, cities and villages and places. I feel so rewarded because people love me. I'm sorry to say those. I receive incredible letters, affectionate letters, little gifts, flowers, a little cassette, little poetry. People come out of the Gleaners with a feeling that if we have the time, the charisma, is that a word? Charisma to approach people, to have the time to approach it. We discover so beautiful people having ideas, being smart, being clever, being funny, even though they look like gray poor, you know. And I think they are grateful to me to have them allowed to meet the people in my film. I'm like a go-between, you know. I say, hey, come and meet these wonderful poor people. And I think the audience is grateful that they were allowed to discover them and to find out how good they are, how generous they are. And it, in a way, comes back to me. And the affection that they show to the characters in the film comes back to me because they don't write to these people, they don't know where they are. And it comes back to me with a lot of signs of gentillesse, and I don't know. So you see, you get what you comment on sème ce qu'on moissonne ce qu'on sème, je sais pas comment on dit. You harvest what you, whatever. And I've been trying to make documentaries in between fiction films because I really love to approach people, to discover them, to learn from them. And I think it's a leçon de modestie, comment on peut dire ça? Lesson of modesty, to go back to school, in a way, to school of life. And whatever I've done 40 years of work, to go back to that makes me feel good because I still have to learn from people. And I enjoy doing that. And that pleasure of discovering again that we can learn from others and share with them sometimes their pain, their difficulties, and make it believable for other people. It's rewarding in itself. I'm not looking for a box office or something like this. My whole life has been like, if I can share something and the audience can share it, then I'm totally rewarded. So passion is there anyway, passion of filming and passion of sharing. Madame?
I just want to ask, what do you think of the technology and the change in the film way of life? It seems that the whole mechanical système, c'est différent il y a le film il y a 20 ans. It's so different from 20 or 30 years ago.
Yeah, they're asking me what is the change of technology,
So
if
how
it
do you
affects
feel about
how I
it
affect.
as a director?
I tell you, not that much. I'm following the changes, and I don't want to make a fuss about it, because the changes are that now, because of digital, we can have in the same time big cameras carried by operator. You know, I had four men who helped me filming with the big camera and the mic and the boom, etc. And you can also have this very small digital camera like you have filming me, and in which you have a little screen on the side which allows you, and you look at your frame, but you could look at me, mademoiselle, and allows you to look at the people you speak to when you raise questions. Instead of being hidden by the camera, you still have the ability to see each other. That changes the interview feeling. That's a technology who allows more sharing of look and understanding. But when I did a short called L'Opéra Mouffe in 57, kind of famous short, about people in the street of Rue Mouffetard, bums and poor people again, but already I should say. And I had a little camera Paillard that has been lent to me by Gérard Philippe and his wife. And I could rewind it like this, and it would last 50 seconds. And I had it like a 3 lenses thing. I could just change it like this. And I had noticed that people coming from far here to here, I could do this, and I was in focus. So I made it very easy, you know, like this or that. And I shot that film 9 out of 10 alone, L'Opéra Mouffe. So it's just 45 years after. I have that little mini digital, and I can shoot myself things that, especially people that I would not allow myself to approach with a big camera and a crew. People in the market, this incredible, beautiful man, at the end, took me 2 months to speak to him, until he ate parsley that I dared to speak to him, and asking him if he accepted, and it took him another 2 weeks to accept to be filmed. And if I didn't have that small camera, he would have just, you know, pushed us away. So in terms of what it allows is more approach to people. And also, when I film myself with one camera like this, filming me like so near like this, my hand, very near, and then filming the trucks, and then playing with my hand, catching the trucks with one camera like this and my hand like this. So these things that I could do because of that camera and alone, I would never ask an operator, a man to say, please film my hand, see how now it ages. I mean, I can do it because I do it myself. I speak to the camera, I deal with the thing, I face the thing, and I do it myself. But I wouldn't ask somebody to do it. So it brings a possibility of intimacy, and sometimes intimacy with others, and also the lightness of it. I always had it in my pocket, so the day I stepped by and they were breaking these television sets, I ran out of my car, filmed it 5 minutes after it was too late. if I had even to ask somebody to take a camera and open it, it was finished. So it also gives you a feeling of reportage that you can use, you know. So there are many reasons to love these little new digital cameras. But technique is only technique. It's just a tool. For me, the only important thing is what you want to film, what is your aim, what film you want to do, to whom you do it, to whom you want to show it, why you feel that you should do that film, how you want the film to look, and whatever the technique is, fine. You know, I don't want to. I have all these panels about digital, so it's just a camera.
I'm just thinking about film theory and the history of cinema, and I'm really interested in the term gleaning. And I was wondering how that differs from bricoler or le bricolage.
Bricolage?
Oui.
Oh, bricolage is a word to say that you fix yourself your cup, you do a little sewing, you do your house. Bricolage is to work with tools and do a little something.
But when we think of the history and the evolution of cinema,
bricolage has nothing to do with cinema.
But it's a part of film theory, and when we learned of French cinema, they were les bricoleurs, like la nouvelle vague. They were taking bits and pieces of things, and it was a term that I had learned.
I don't know. Bricolage has no meaning for me in terms of cinema. And I must say I don't read theory and don't know about theory. But it is true that at the time of the Nouvelle Vague, there was that freedom in the middle of a film to make a little joke or show something different. And in that meaning, I'm, in a way, free enough when I want to treat the gleaning to take you by the hand and say, look, come with me, we cross friends, and if I stop, I see something I like, including a painting, okay, share with me the pleasure of seeing that painting again, which has nothing to do with gleaning, and I come back to the subject, and sometimes I show you the Marais experiment, you know, at the beginning of cinema, and we come back to the film. So this is not bricolage, this is what we call l'école buissonnière, you know, it's documentaire buissonnier. It's like you treat the subject, but you allow yourself digression, je sais pas le mot? No, digression, but coming back to it. But this is not bricolage, this is freedom. Bricolage is when you take things and you fix it badly, you take a little piece of this, you fix your dress and you do like this. This is bricolage. It's funny to do, you know, we do it at home all the time because sometimes you don't want somebody to come and fix you, you fix it yourself, vaguely and bad. But bricolage is also in department store, you have like a department which is bricolage, where you can find tools and thread and metal things. It's like do-it-yourself work. So bricolage has nothing to do with glanage. Now, the different glanage, the very specific glanage, is not picking fruits or things in the field. Is picking them after the harvest, after the vendange, after the professional have finished to take it. When they leave it in the field. That's where you are allowed to glean. So it's a very specific word, legally, and in the countryside. And the difference is marauder or chipper. This, if you steal, you know, when the harvest is not done and there is a tree full of apple and you steal an apple, this is not allowed. This is nothing to do with gleaning. But where they have been through, they have come with professional ladders, les échelles, comment on dit, ladders, and they picked the trees and they went away. Where they are gone, if you go in that tree or under the tree, this is gleaning, le glanage.